The fight for the Holy Land.
Today, there is deep pain in the Middle East, on both sides. The world watches as Palestinians suffer the humiliation and frustration of curfews and checkpoints, a constant military presence in their cities. Israel says it's forced to impose these measures to prevent further acts of Palestinian terror. And so the Palestinians escalate their attacks to avenge Israeli brutality and bring an end to what they consider to be the Israeli occupation.
How did it start?
After World War II, the United Nations declared that the time had come for the Jews to officially return to the land of Israel and rebuild their ancient homeland. The United Nations decision was rejected by the Arab world. The very day the state was declared, Israel was attacked by 5 Arab countries. The source of the conflict is clear. The Arab nations see the Israelis as thieves, usurpers. That with the creation of the State of Israel, the Jews were stealing Arab lands. The Jews, however, have always considered Israel as their ancestral homeland, citing a divine promise and an uninterrupted Jewish presence in the land of Israel for over 3,500 years. 2 peoples, 1 land, a festering conflict. The question is, what steps has each side taken towards resolving the conflict? Towards peace?
In August of 1993, the Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and the Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat met at the Oslo Accords in Norway to discuss a peace treaty under the supervision of American President Bill Clinton.
Here is what Israel committed to at Oslo. Israel agreed to recognize the PLO, who would no longer operate as a terror organization, but rather as a legal governing body, now to be named the PA, the Palestinian Authority. Israel agreed to transfer land over to PA control, the exact amount to be determined in a series of interim deals. Israel committed to educate its public towards peace and to prepare the Israeli population for the difficult compromises that would need to be made in order to allow for the establishment of a Palestinian entity right next door. Israel agreed to allow the creation of a PA police force of up to 10,000 members on the provision that there be no terrorists on staff. And finally, Israel agreed to supply the PA with arms and weapons in order to help them police their own people and destroy terror. And these were the Palestinian commitments at Oslo. The Palestinians agreed to end all terrorist activities. They agreed to recognize Israel's right to exist, which means they would have to amend the PLO National Charter, which calls for the destruction of all of Israel through violence. The PA committed to destroy all terror groups and confiscate illegal weapons. The Palestinians committed to preserve and protect all Jewish holy sites that fall under PA control in the transfers of land. The PA agreed that all future problems with Israel would be solved by negotiation only, and never again to revert to terror. And finally, the PA undertook to educate their people for peace. This included an end to public incitement towards violence and hatred.
But instead of ending the ongoing war, the Oslo Accords added fuel to the fire. This conflict is still at large today. The PLO refused to follow their end of the deal, so there is an ongoing Israeli presence in Palestinian territories. Terrorist organizations such as Hamas are bombing civilians on a daily basis, and the IDF troops are putting a tightrope around Gaza and the West Bank. Since the signing of the Oslo Accords, there have been hundreds of Hamas terror attacks in Israel, claiming over 1,500 lives. Much of the art that came out of this conflict is the graffiti advocating peace and freedom found on the wall separating Gaza from Israel mainland. This graffiti was created by famous British artist and political activist Banksy. People are being killed and others are left homeless. This unnecessary hatred and violence has been going on for hundreds of years. The only way to stop the conflict is to teach future generations how to live in peace.